think you ought to know. About Men's Radio. The place where men and women really speak. Oh man, what a show. It's Men's Radio. This crazy show is on 3 times a week. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, it won't cost you no dough. Men's Radio, that's the place for you. With Russ Kane and Phil Dave.
Monday.
Ahoy, hoy, Phil Dave.
Ahoy, hoy, Russ Kane.
Thank you. You were about to tell me something fabulous.
Well, I don't know about fabulous. Well, I know.
Okay, let's move on.
It's fabulous to me, potentially.
Okay.
You know, when you have something hanging overhead, you always, I don't know about you, I find myself agreeing to stuff because I hate letting people down.
Yeah, but you're too much of a people pleaser.
Maybe, whatever the reason, I still find I do.
That's the thing, boy.
So I find myself agreeing to do something to help someone out. And then I think to myself after, why on earth did I do that? Why did I put myself under that pressure? Why did I make a promise that I'm going to struggle to keep? Why? Anyway, this morning.
Dear points of view, why can't we see more of that lovely Bruce Forsyth? I mean, it's that, isn't it?
I don't know if I want to see him now.
Well,
but anyway,
there you go. My point.
The point is that I have actually achieved one of those things that I recently set out to do to help someone else, literally minutes before we went live, and it's such a moment.
You changed your mother's tire?
That's the one.
That was it. You did the oil change on your father's Maserati?
She was looking a bit flat.
Oh,
I should have said it. She looks a bit tired.
Keep going. It's very good. We're losing listeners by the droves. Anyway, so are you going to tell us what it is or not? It's a secret.
It's not necessarily a secret at all. I just didn't think it would be that interesting. It was compiling a load of video. You know, when people have clips, montages, video clip montages, or what have you. Oh dear. Well, he lasted longer than I thought. It's his age. God love him. It's the problem, you see. You reach a certain point.
Oh God, I had a dream. Well, hi everybody. Look at this. This is getting on my nerves straight away. Morning, everyone. Lovely to see blue skies here. Where are you, on Mars? It's awful. It's absolutely blowing a hoolie.
It's a little bit grey and miserable down south, Sue, but it's nice to know that up north. It's nice to know that up north for once, actually. The weather is nice.
Yeah, it's lovely. And give our very, very best to Dave Sleet. No relation, just happens to be in your house at the moment. Hey, a bit of a mixed emotional bag for me today, Philip.
Oh, pourquoi?
Bit of emotional. It's 12:03.
Well, not a lot gets past you. I didn't realize that was such an emotional time for you.
I'll explain why, Mr. Gobshite. Because at this very, very second,
our Roibus. Yes.
A Roibus to you, and a Broigus with a Roibus. At this very second, the wheels of a British Airways plane are leaving the tarmac, the runway at Heathrow. At this very second, it's a 12 o'clock flight, and taking my son to go and live in America. I'm okay.
You know, I hope, though, that some sort of comfort is brought, though, from knowing that technology does mean that sort of wherever anyone is in the world, no one's ever quite as far away as they once were.
Yes, it's not really thousands and thousands of miles away. It's not even on the East Coast. So, I have to say, it's a very interesting. And as parents and grandparents, as many of our audience are, you will get the... and Phil's got dogs, so he kind of understands. Phil's got dogs in his whiskey collection. Imagine your whiskey collection at Heathrow Airport right now, leaving the country, Phil. That gives you some perspective on just the gravity of the situation.
Well, you put it like that.
Yeah, there we are. Or imagine Monty and Carlo with their little suitcases at Heathrow, and they turn around and go, and they go through the departure gate. I mean, imagine you, huh? Yeah.
Oh.
See,
Well, when you put it like that,
you got it. This is.
or if they go on holiday, dog and a
the
Regis
art.
or something.
I don't think they'd be going to Bognor Regis isn't bad actually. It's got a great theatre there. It's quite. Do you know what Bognor Regis? I know everyone takes the you know what out of it. Got a beautiful promenade, gorgeous. Seriously, it's really nice.
That, but it's got bog in the title.
Well, they're flushed with success. Right, moving on.
Full of actually, never mind.
Don't worry about it. Now, moving on. What I was going to say is this: as a parent, you're going to do that every time you sip your tea. Completely ridiculous.
Did you just hear the wind?
It is the most bizarre catchphrase. Roibus.
Well, it's got to be
parent. As a parent,
better than saying have a red bush. But anyway, Melanie Hutchins says, "Hi everyone. Hi Melanie.
Hi Mel. Now, what I was saying is, this, as a parent, or indeed if you're a grandparent, you calm down, Philip.
That's the first time since I shaved my head. That's the first time I noticed. Actually, one goes red all over. Isn't that terrible?
Is this shaving your head going to stay? Or are you going to let it come back a little bit?
Well, you say that, but
all right, okay. Well, wishful thinking. All right, so you never know miracles.
Miracle grow. Maybe.
You know where you've gone wrong. You didn't leave the country and go and live in Montecito, California, where miraculously, if you're a ginger, your hair grows back. It's incredible, isn't it? It's a modern miracle, ladies and gentlemen. A modern miracle. I've
just realised my dogs will probably go and live in Monte Carlo.
Well, they're tax exiles.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say is this. It's interesting because as a parent, or if you're a grandparent, all you want for your kids is the absolute best. Is Russ on something today? No. What do you mean on something? Andrew, you're so showbiz. Yeah, I've been freebasing coffee. Anyway, so all you want for your kids is the best. So you're ripped, aren't you? Because you want them around, but on the other hand, you want them to be successful. And he is ludicrously. It's a huge opportunity. He's got about 50 people in an enormous company reporting into him. He's head of North America for a whole division, and it's a very big deal. So there we go. No, it's not whiskey, Mel. It's well, he says not. It's rooibos tea. Rooibos tea. Am I pronouncing it correct?
You give it a shot, I suppose.
Yay! Afternoon, guys. Wishing you sunrise. All the best in your new life in the US. Did you slip an Apple tag in his case while he wasn't looking? I don't know what that is. What's an Apple tag?
An Apple tag is a device. An Apple tag is a device that can connect to, funnily enough, iDevices, with iPhone, iPad, other Apple products, and you can track the location of said Apple tag. So if you have,
I know exactly where he is.
Yeah.
I know exactly where he is. No, he hasn't taken the job as head of PR for Harry and Meghan. God almighty.
No,
it would be quicker. Just put your head in this meat grinder. That'd be quicker and less painful, probably more enjoyable. God, I don't know. I think whoever's head of their PR is just the fantasy author. I think they just make. What can we think of today? The latest thing I saw yesterday, which absolutely. Thank you, Melanie. That's very sweet of you. All the best of luck to him. The thing I saw yesterday was Harry and Meghan are taking a very big part in the coronation of Charles and Camilla. And I wrote back, get your programs. Who wants tickets? I got tickets. And that was that. I didn't have a reply from them, oddly enough.
I am getting slightly fed up with the way people are talking as if Her Majesty is no longer with us.
Precisely. It's
so many people. She may be around for another 10, 15, 20 years. You never know. You literally never know. She might even outlive Prince Charles, and no one's thought of that.
Blimey.
So
that would be nice for her. That would be a horrible thing for her.
It would be horrible, but it happened to her mother before her. Her mother outlived Princess Margaret.
Oh, wow.
So it is perfectly possible. So I think we need to also stop Just
kind
wishing
of
her
a,
away.
a
It's
kind of
terrible.
a direct line. I'm going to be slightly controversial in the way that Princess Margaret behaved, and no, I'm going to stop it. And I'm not going to do it because you'll all misunderstand what I was trying to say. I was trying to talk about the way in which you invoke royal protocol, to the point that it's a bit unpleasant. But I'll leave it there. I'll leave it. I'll leave it. What's he going to do with the rest of his life?
Oh,
Andrew, what's he actually going to seriously? A question somebody asked me. I'll tell you who asked me this question. Last time I was in Los Angeles, and I don't see myself going back for a very long time to Los Angeles now. Do you know how bad it is in LA? And this is all about mental health and when you let lunatics run places, right?
are we allowed to say lunatics anymore? I like that word, but I don't know if it's okay anymore.
I've said it. Well, I've said it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
No, I'm not going to do a thing. I like the word.
Precisely. Well, there we are. You know, words are words. You know, they're not bullets.
I
They're not-
actually
they're
find
not
the term
bullets.
lunatic quite affectionate.
Yeah, that says more about you. Greetings from blustery Cheshire. Hello, Facebook user. Blustery Cheshire. I got to tell you, in London, it's blowing a gale. It certainly is. Hello, Sen. Hope everything okay. I was in your neck of the woods at the weekend. Oh, God, I wondered why it was so blowy. Explains so much.
Gracious.
Wow, it's like a scene out of Harry Potter. Now, I forgot where the hell I was. Oh, yes. So many people are leaving. Los Angeles has now become lawless. Listen to this statistic. Lawless.
Really?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Oh,
Horrible. And as indeed, I wouldn't want to go back to New York either at the moment. And in LA, so many people are leaving the state to go and live somewhere else in America that the biggest trucking company self-hire is called U-Haul, right? You've all heard of U-Haul. It's U then Haul. You've seen them in every movie.
you bet.
Yeah, right. They've run out of vehicles. There are not enough U-Haul vehicles available to take all the people emigrating out of California because they've absolutely had enough of their nonsense
Oh,
to go and live somewhere else. And here's a fascinating thing, because we always go, oh, dinghy divers, oh, immigrants, ooh, right? Okay. As though they have no purpose. The people in the state of Texas, where a lot of these Californians are going, don't want them. It's fascinating, isn't it? They don't want them.
sounds a bit unfortunate.
The reason they don't want them, of course, is they don't want them to vote in the idiots that they voted in California. They've taken back to robbing trains. You see, none of this makes the media. None of this makes the media. It's gone back to the Wild West. You see images of the tracks in California where they rob the trains. You've never seen anything like. I couldn't believe it. I was watching it last night. Couldn't believe it. It never makes the media because it goes against the narrative. Because there's no news. I say this nearly every show. There's no more news. There's just propaganda. That's all there is. It's just propaganda for one side or the other side. Sick of it. Just give me the news. Where are you guys on retirement? It says Ramsey. Would you like to read this, young Philip?
Where
I cheer him up. I cheer him up.
Anything to say? Hey, what? Sorry, what?
No, I'm just saying I cheer you up by saying young Philip.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I say that because it gives him a useful jaunt.
I appreciate that.
It's okay, my pleasure.
Thanks, old pal. Where are you guys on retirement? Should people retire at a certain age, or when they are happy to do so? Is it fair to expect the Queen to carry on her duties into her late 90s with no chance of retiring and having the chance to kick back and relax a bit in her twilight years? Well, okay, if I might be allowed to reply to that, I would suggest that I think that Her Majesty knows her own mind. She pledged to give her life to the service of her country, and I think she meant every single word. And Frank, I know she did, because you can see her dedication is absolutely relentless. But there are some things that she has already handed over the baton to that obviously exert a little too much energy, that she feels that she probably...
That's why Phil, on a Friday, can't do the show from home because he's walking the corgis. So he has to walk the corgis and rush to a building to do the show.
told you I won't be allowed to do it if you give that away soon.
No, it's fine. I'm not saying where you do it. 33 the High Street, going past the kebab shop, but I won't. I'm not. Oh, it's awkward.
Oh, I see. I only ask because Phil must be waiting for us to retire to take over the main microphone. We're not Rams.
I tell you where I stand on retirement.
I am what's known in the trade as a safety blanket.
A wet blanket, a wet safety blanket.
Oh yeah.
I'd never. Did someone say kebab? I did. He's got like radar. It's got beep 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 beep. Oh, someone said kebab. Hello. I'm really sure now. Here's the thing. Retirement. If you're a writer or a broadcaster, you don't, because you can write forever. Andrew could walk the corgis. No. He'd end up walking puppies, and then there'd be more problems. I've never met that puppy.
Can we just say
that puppy is?
Anyway, gracious me. Right, yes.
I was watching an interview yesterday. I'll come back to retirement. I was watching an interview yesterday with Lady Victoria Harvey, who I met out in LA. Actually, she was very nice. But suddenly she's got an American accent, which always drives me mad. All my friends who've lived in America, like my late pal Francis, who lived there 30 years, all my friends who've lived there for decades speak exactly the same as Phil and I. They have no American accent. It always kills me when someone goes over to America and you go, hi, Fred, how are you? Yeah, I'm really good, Russ. I go, what the bloody hell are you talking like that? You're from Finchley, what are you doing?
I do find
Lady Victoria Harvey was like, yeah, well, and I'm thinking, why? No, come on. No, it doesn't happen. You just don't.
I guess so that's actually, I think that is the sign of someone who puts others first. I think what that means is that they're so keen to please others around them, and also just to sort of put their others around them at their ease, that they'll sort of blend in with them. I know that I can be a bit of a voice chameleon when I'm in the company of certain people. So, for example, if I am okay, can I be honest here?
Have you been in the company of Fenella Fielding recently? Then?
If I'm in the company of somebody who maybe is a little, should we say, rough around the edges, isn't quite so received in the way they pronounce things, I might
Phil Dave.
I might dumb down a little bit, because I'm also very aware that it can come across as it can kind of come across as like I'm sort of like looking down on someone I really don't mean to. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's a terrible thing, though, because you speak very nicely. Everybody knows that. But it's a ridiculous... I mean, you talk garbage, but you speak very nicely. That's the point. And that's all that matters, really. It doesn't matter what the words are. And it's an awful state of...
the shopping list.
Say that again?
I could recite the shopping list.
You could do it. It'd be delightful. And the point... Gracious. Good luck with that. Here's the thing. It's a shocking state of affairs that because you speak nicely, it's perceived that you're looking down on somebody. I don't. If somebody doesn't speak well, I don't look. Think it's how they speak. End of. It's a rotten state of affairs. All pop people used to do that. Oh yeah, I'm from the street. I had a really hot. No, you're middle class. You had a completely nice. The finest example of that was Tim Westwood, who I worked with at Capitol for many years. Tim Westwood, who talked like that the whole time. Know what I mean, people? Oh my days. He's the son of a bishop. Tim Westwood spoke exactly the same as Phil when I knew him, and like all the time. Talking like that, know what I mean? It's nonsense. It's just affectation, isn't it?
I really don't like it. There's something about speaking in that manner that grates a little on me. But having said that, I'm sure people who do speak
language evolves. Language evolves.
It also disintegrates as well. So, I mean, I'm all for evolution. I'm all for progression. But if one's idea of progression is the deterioration of a tradition that's been long-standing, then I don't see that as progression. I just see
it's not progress. It's just change. Change is not always progress. Change sometimes goes back. Look what's happened. I would honestly argue with race relations of all kind. I think they've been shoved back 15, 20 years by what's going on. easily. I think it's an absolute crying shame. A crying shame. But there we are. That is just me. Yeah, Paul, I know that. I do know that Fenella Fielding's dead. I used to work for her brother. Russ, I'd be shocked.
Fenella Fielding, she died in 2018. But there you
I know
go.
that. I was in a film with her. Wasn't Ali G a spoof based on Tim Westwood?
And then he finishes with "for real."
For real, know what I mean? It's all such complete pants. Now, somebody, I think it was Melanie, said, "Don't mention Canada." Damn right. I mean, it's not even. I was following that news and thinking, because it doesn't fit the narrative of what the propaganda is saying, they didn't tell us what was going on in Canada until they had no choice. When Trudeau, I don't know if you're really aware, because we always go, oh, Canada's bloody miles away. What do? They're giving us Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, kind of it.
And maple syrup.
And maple syrup and some Mounties. I mean, you know, what they got going for them. Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful country. It's a huge country. It's like America, but with manners. And Canadians, the most polite, delightful, charming. They're really lovely people. And for Trudeau to, you talk about mental health, he has invoked powers that are only designed if there is a civil war or the country is under attack from a foreign nation. That's how serious the powers are that he has invoked. This isn't like, oh, you know, wear a mask and wash your hands. We're not talking about that. We're talking about emergency powers that are so draconian, so extraordinary. They were only ever there in place in case of a full-on civil war or the invasion and attack on Canadian territory by a foreign power. Those truckers are not the foreign power. They are the backbone of a nation. They bring you the stuff from the farmers. That's how you eat. That's how you get the goods in your shops. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary what he's done. And the swastika reference was absolutely extraordinary. I think we touched on it on Friday, Phil, if you recall. It was just extraordinary. Extraordinary. And he had the opportunity 3 times in Parliament, because I've watched it. I don't watch British news. I know, you know what, but I see what's going on in the rest of the world. And this man Trudeau, he's got lovely hair. That's what he's got going for him. He's got great hair. Outside of that, anyway. So and he made this repulsive reference to a swastika, and he was asked 3 times in Parliament, politely, not screaming and shouting, to apologize. He refused to apologize, and then he left the parliamentary building, just walked out. Unbelievable. Really, what's going on there is horrendous, and they're lucky it's Canada and not America, because if it was America, the rioting would have been horrific. Because it's Canada, they're being polite. I mean, they were asked, please, could you stop blowing your horns? You know, I mean, there's thousands of trucks. I'm not talking about some little Ocado truck. I'm talking about those big 32-wheeler, huge Arctics, right?
Don't forget that obviously across the pond, the articulated part of the lorry, the actual front part, the cab part of the lorry, is longer than most HGVs in this country without cargo attached to them. It's huge.
Absolutely huge, because don't forget the distances they're traveling. It's not going from like Peckham to Croydon to drop off some some boxes of Daz if they still make it. You know, you're traveling thousands and thousands of miles from the east to west, north to south. So they were asked, please, I understand your protest, but in Ottawa, could you stop blowing your horn? So they went, okay. I mean, that's the Canadians for you. That's how polite they're. They said, okay, we'll stop blowing the horns. Absolutely. Oh, that's very sweet of you, Paul. That is very, very kind of you. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about in a sec. Oh, by the way, congratulations. Best radio-based women's mental health support service in the UK. Yeah, women's radio station, our sister station, just won another award, much to our thrill. So congratulations to all the presenters on women's radio and all the background team. The reason I mention this It's not because I want this to be a political show. It's not what we're about. We're here for mental health and well-being. It's when you see things that are so glaringly ghastly and wrong that as an intelligent people, and all our listeners are, you can see from the comments, they're smart, they're bright, they're experienced. It takes a toll on your mental health because you get angry. You know you're being lied to. You know it. And you know what's going on is completely wrong because you know it. And
in other words, if you want something to cheer you up, though.
What's that? What am I looking at? The last time. Oh, God. If you're listening on Deluxe Radio, this will make no sense. Phil is holding up a wonderful thing. It says, and the headline is, last time I go to a deaf tattooist. On the left is Cher, the singer. On the right is a tattoo of a chair.
I love stupid things like that. I do apologize.
Oh, goodness me. If you've lost us on LinkedIn, I'm sorry. LinkedIn itself has got some issues. I don't think it's us. And thank you very much from Dave Sleet, who says congratulations from everybody at APA. Thank you very, very much indeed. Spain, haven't seen you in a while.
Here I'm off to sunny Spain. Hey, viva España.
Chrissy Richards says, hello, haven't seen you for a while because of other things I have had to, I assume, deal with. Yes, I am very angry today with what I'm hearing regards certain royals. Say no more.
Say no more. Is your wife like digestive? They want to be.
Don't mention biscuits. I need to try and diet a bit.
Why? There's nothing of you. You're like a pencil.
Well,
you're like a biro. There's absolutely nothing of you.
I feel like one of those starter pencils, that you give give children, the really thick pencils they can grab. That's
thick. Well, no one said you're not thick, but you're very slim.
Thanks, a bog roll. Anyway,
here we go, Chrissy. I mean, let's go back to Chrissy's comment. When I'm not going to get into the wheres and whatever, but when you are being fed a load of garbage because PR people or people who look after other people, put it that way, they're not strictly PR people. If they were PR people, they wouldn't have made such a balls up of it. You're just being fed garbage and rubbish. And of course you get upset because you feel frustrated. Do you think we're that stupid? Are we all that universally stupid that you can just feed us any old crap? And we go, oh yeah, that sounds right. It's true. No, I don't know. This is Ramsey is saying to Chrissy Richards out in Spain. Is Chrissy upset at the Queen for not retiring? No, I don't think she is referring to that at all there. Last night I watched. Paul Claridge. Last night I watched. Oh, you read this, Phil. I'm doing far too much talking today.
Well, I didn't like to say anything. Last night, I watched the first episode of Louis Theroux's Forbidden America, in which he met young people and social media influencers. LinkedIn, that's because we're just talking about LinkedIn. How funny. Linked to America's far right. So stupid. I'm so sorry. Have one job. Wow. Utter scumbags who've monetized racism and hatred.
Oh, excuse me, Paul. Paul, with the greatest of respect, where's the $60 million that's missing from Black Lives Matter? Let's have the other side of the coin, shall we, Paul? Where's that gone? What about one of the co-founders that has been arrested for voting fraud and put in jail? What about that? Didn't make the news over here, did it? $60 million? We're not talking about 60 quid, Paul. We're talking about $60 million. Disappeared. The founder built a property empire out of it. Come on. Everyone says, oh, yes, it's the far right. It's the far right. Yeah, what about the left? What about the left? You think they're not making a fortune out of this? Absolute fortune out of this. Come on. I don't mind comments like that. I don't have a problem with that, but balance it. That's what this men's radio is about, balance and trying to assuage people's fears. And that, and Louis Theroux, he's got an agenda. I'm not saying he's not clever, but he's always got an agenda. Let him go and see what the far left are doing.
Through him.
Hmm?
You can see right through him. Luke Newman says, Good afternoon, gents. All good with me. Having at least 15 men attend each of the virtual, physical, and walking meetings of 4 men to talk. 100 meetings in 2022. Well done, men. Keep talking. Bravo.
Absolutely right. And Mary J. Williams, not Mary J. Blige, because that would be quite impressive.
Mary
Love
G.
that. Says, love that analogy, Phil. Pencil thin is relative.
That's the way I feel. And Dave Sleek goes on to say, this is why we need to have our own pre-crisis intervention support system. See the image on Messenger.
Okay, don't know what that means, but that sounds good, whatever it is. See, the thing is, I'm not having a pop at Paul Claridge because I'm enormously fond of him. He's a very brave and he's a very special guy. But it does really...
Barking, but he's a very nice chap.
Mm-hmm. Say again?
Arguably politically barking, but he is a nice chap.
I don't know. I'll be honest, I've never ever in all the many years I've known him discussed politics. I never discuss politics with people I don't know well.
I'm totally kidding, Paul. I'm well aware that everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah, completely so. But it's about balance. I don't mind people saying, well, look what the far right's done. Okay. You look at what the far left's done. That's why they're leaving California in droves.
Ramsey says, what about the charities that spend all their money paying the CEOs? One
Absolutely.
charity paid out 98% of the money it raised on wages.
I saw that late last night when I was flicking through stuff. You're absolutely right. I can't remember them. I'm not trying to avoid naming the charity. I can't remember the charity's name. Look, let's be grown up about this. I was Chief Barker. I had the honor of being Chief Barker of what was Variety Club. Then they changed the name to Variety, the children's charity. Okay, not going to discuss that now. And I was a trustee for Variety Club, as it was, or Variety, the children's charity, for well over 2 decades. I had the honor of doing that. So I'm very familiar with what the responsibilities are for being a trustee of a charity. But this charity, and Rams is absolutely right, 98% of the money that they raised went on wages. Shut the charity down because you're wasting your time.
Can I just say, without knowing the charity and without knowing the full details, I would suggest that there is a possibility that possibly the problem with that is that when someone has a contract with a charity, just because it's a charity doesn't mean that they're not paid a wage that organization is contractually obliged
big
to
money.
Fair enough, but it doesn't mean that they're not contractually obliged to pay that particular individual the salary that has been agreed with them. That contract is legally binding.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
And it may be that particular charity had said a bad year, for example, and if that is the case, they need to.
I see where you're going with this. I totally see where you're going with this.
It doesn't mean that every single time they earn money, that 98% of that goes on wages automatically.
Let me answer that because it's a very important point. I understand what you're saying is, oh my God, let's just say they've arranged for a CEO to get £100,000, probably get a lot more on a charity, right? By the way, just before you all get excited, as Chief Barker and a trustee, I wasn't even allowed to charge for a cup of coffee. So for all the years I was involved, any travel, any expenses, any tickets to events, everything, I pay for myself. We never, ever received a penny. None of us. Only the staff at Variety get paid. None of the volunteers receive a penny. So and I had to put on golf days, which nearly freaked me out, and all sorts of things, which I was not expecting. I would never have taken on the job had it been properly explained to me, which it wasn't because they wanted me to do it and they knew that I'd run a mile if I knew just what the financial exposure was. I was really not very happy about it, but I committed and that was it. I gave my word and my word is my bond. So let's go back to Phil's analogy. I employ Phil to be CEO of whatever charity it is. And I'm said, right, your salary is £100,000. I would only base that on looking back on the years of the donations that we've received. I'm not going to pluck I'm not going to put £100,000 employee into a charity that's making, 200,000 a year donations. It's absolute madness. No one would do that. And it's unlikely, COVID or not, that charity's income could have dropped that much like a stone. Does that make sense to you, Phil? In other words, they would have looked at what they could afford. But for 98% of their donations to go on staff stinks. Not as badly as that
No, but what I'm saying,
horrendous woman, Camilla
that's-
Batman Gellish, who
hang on a
somehow managed to lose 42 million quid.
hang on a second, but you say 98%.
Yeah.
What I'm questioning is whether or
Yeah.
not was that a one-off or is that per year? If it's per annum, that they are automatically spending 98% of whatever the charity earns on wages, then clearly that is very wrong. If it's 98% of the previous couple of years or what have you, because they've had a rough time recently, then that's very different.
If you run a charity, give us a call. Come on and tell us if your income has dropped by nearly 100%. Come back and explain. Let's see what Phil's being very fair. I'm not so fair because I've been involved. I've been a trustee I've been trustee of lots of charities.
Yes, but you know as well as I do that things can be spun, and you don't know. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know the details of this. I'm just saying that is a possibility that they are looking.
All right. Well, let's look at it wider. Originally, at Variety, and I can quote these figures because I know, obviously, because I had to deal with the accountants and everything else, and on my board of trustees at the time. Okay, at the time, 90 pence out of every pound raised went to the children. 90 pence. Rising costs, eventually by the time, well, I'd left by that point, but it was about 50% went to the children. Because you got rent, and it was not a glamorous office. It was in Camden Town. Trust me, it was not glamorous. But you've got staffing costs. Now, there was 32 staff. There was either 26 or 32 staff, all of whom working very, very hard, all of whom were paid. Because the charity was making then, I have no idea, now I'm not associated with it in any way, so I can't speak on its behalf. I left some years ago. But it was making between 8 and 10 million a year in donations. So pro rata, what they were paying the staff, you needed the staff to generate that money. Does that make sense? How Camilla Batman Gellish could turn around with whatever it's called, Kids Company, and lose £42 million is absolutely, I can't get my head around it at all. I'm going to leave it at that. What have we got here? Ramsey says, I was a...
I'm sure if she'd like to answer that question for herself.
I'd love her to answer that question. Notice how quiet she's gone. I was a trustee. Go on, Phil. Read it out, please, if you'd be so kind.
Oh, I see. He says, I was a trustee of a charity, and we endeavored to keep administration costs under 15% of revenue as guided by the Charities Commission. Right, okay. Administration costs are different to wages, though. But anyway, as guided by the Charities Commission, and as a trustee, I never claimed any money, including travel expenses. Sadly, some charity work some see charity work.
Oh, they do.
Career.
Yeah, it is. For some people, it's a huge career. Of course it is. It's a fantastic job. Let's not be silly. You're making, it's a good wage. Facebook user, Kids Company, handing out cash, getting more government cash to stay open, awards all over the place, and not a single account's to be seen anywhere. 42 million lost. I won't read the rest of it out.
No, I'm sorry. This is becoming uneasy. All right,
It's not. No. I went on BBC London because I went on BBC London and spoke about this, and I will tell you why. And I'll be very calm and collected. But I'm speaking, having been a trustee, and I was the chief barker and trustee. Every penny of a charity. And anyone who's been a trustee of a charity involved will know every penny has to be accounted for in the annual accounts by the certified accountants who go through all the income, expenditure, etc. The Charity Commission looks at everything. And if there's something they don't like, when the accounts are submitted, the Charity Commission will then raise a red flag, and you have to explain why that money was spent. If you're £42 million adrift, you tell me what on earth was the Charity Commission doing? And you tell me how those accounts ever passed muster with any firm of accountants that was a reputable firm. It's incomprehensible to me, because there are so many safety nets and so many rules relating to a charity.
Look, the point I'm trying to make is that there are a lot of unanswered questions surrounding a very specific case that we are not going to get the answers to here, and speculation never did anyone any favors. So as much as I understand why this has suddenly come about, I would suggest that maybe it's not the best thing that we discuss right
All
now.
right, we'll steer away from it. But the other question is to do with our mental health: is why wasn't it investigated? Why not?
Perfectly reasonable question.
Why were people not held accountable? Why was there no government committee? Why was there no parliamentary committee? Why was there not a full investigation? We're not talking about 42,000 quid, which itself is a fortune. 42 million pounds. I think we know. And don't forget, and the extra 11 million from the government the week it closed. Where did that go? Where did it go?
All perfectly reasonable questions. As I said, we don't know the answers. We're not going to get the answers.
We'll never get the answers. Can fool some of the people some of the time. Ramsey says this. Yep. Ramsey's quite right. I was going to make the point myself. So this is the answer to your admin thing. Admin is wages.
Okay.
It's the same. It's all bundled in. So you got rent, light, heating, electricity, gas, equipment, wages, paper, photocopier, toner, everything you need to run to run an office. Right. What have we got from this? Is from Ramsey. This is an interesting point. Would you like to read it, Phil? I know we've disappeared.
I'm behind
Hello,
you.
everybody. Go on.
By the way, I agree with Paul Claridge, says Ramsey. The reason there is so much conflict and political turmoil in the US is that the extremists are becoming more mainstream. That's for sure. I didn't see the Through program, but I understand he was pointing out that the racists on the extreme right are monetizing their hate and fermenting hate. Whatever you may think of the government in California, that's not on the same scale as the rise of the extreme right.
Oh, no, it is.
Right.
Oh, no, I disagree with you entirely, Ramsey. Yes, I disagree with you entirely.
Extremes are on both sides.
And it's, what do you mean by, and it's a proper question, because we don't shout and scream here on Men's Radio Station, because it's about mental health and well-being, which means that when we have a discussion about things which affect our mental health, we have an open discussion. We don't scream and shout. We don't need to do that. Not talk radio.
You mind?
Oh yeah, I forgot. We're not GB News. Or anybody else that Phil doesn't work for. It'd be impossible to find.
That was almost
when you say extreme right, what is you talk about Oswald Mosley marching down the street with swastikas on their armbands. I mean, that nobody wants that. But what is seen as extreme right and extreme left needs some definition, needs some markers in the sand as what is defined as being extreme. If you're saying no people of color or no Jews or no foreigners, yeah, ghastly.
Melanie, in answer to that point where she says, yes. I can't understand why extreme left is thought of as okay. It isn't.
Precisely. Oh, no. But the media will have you. You see, this is why I disagree. This is why I really disagree with Ramsey on this, because it's very easy. And Ramsey's a highly intelligent guy. I'm not having a pop at Ramsey in the least. I'm having a pop at the way the propaganda works. And the way the propaganda works, which is why we are in such a turmoil, which is why we're permanently upset and angry and confused, is this. Everything the left does is great. Oh, it's fantastic. And anything the conservative, I'm not talking about the conservative government, I'm talking about conservative with a small c, anywhere in the world does, oh, it's terrible. If you see what has happened in New York, and if you see what has happened in what was the wonderful state of California, you can see when these people, Tower Hamlets, they're having look at the finances of Tower Hamlets. That's a tiny, tiny microcosm of what happens. Tower Hamlets in London, state of California.
One of the biggest problems that we have is that a lot of things that we read and see is all subliminal. The constant ebbing away at our mindsets in terms of what we hear and what we see and what we read all over the place, whether it be through social media, whether it be on the news, whether it be radio, whatever it is. And the biggest problem with that is an awful lot of individuals who are involved in all of those media outlets lean to the left themselves. And their political influence affects their work. It affects the way they broadcast their work. It affects the way they write their work, whatever they do with it. It just affects them. And then what happens, and this is why it annoys me when people say the right-wing press, because actually the press, if you look at it, is bizarrely enough quite balanced. Yes, it is true. There are some papers that go extreme one way or extreme the other to some people. I don't think it's extreme myself, but they think it is. And yet there are those who are in the middle. But the problem is that the ones who are in the middle, people don't affiliate with, they don't recognize them, and therefore they sort of going away. They actually sort of start edging towards what they affiliate with. And when you see in the mainstream media the bulk of people leaning to the left and normalizing it, that is why the right, what is sometimes dubbed the extreme right, is deemed unacceptable. It's because these people who run and control and speak and broadcast and do everything like that are constantly ebbing away, saying this is not okay, this is disgusting, look at this behavior. And they don't even do that sometimes. They just put their perspective out and don't put an alternative view.
I watch a lot of these. I watch a lot of the American stuff. In fact, that's all I watch. Because when America sneezes, Britain catches a cold. And our place in the world really, well, been and gone. As has America. Been and gone. They've had their day. Because the world will be run, if it's not already run, by Russia and China. The end. That's it. Why? Because they haven't been sidetracked by this nonsenses. They haven't spent months and months and God knows how many square hectares of media coverage on what pronoun people should have. They've got on with education. Am I a fan of communist China? My God, no. Of course I couldn't be. My idea is horrible. But some of what they've done, you can see why they make the progress. Did I talk about TikTok on Friday? Did I talk about TikTok?
What about TikTok?
Well, I'll just come back to it very, very quickly. TikTok's a Chinese thing.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry, you did.
Very, very, very briefly. So in the West, the morons who do a little dance or, and do really stupid things and get famous for being idiots are rewarded. Influencers. What a load of crap, right? Influencers, right? In China, TikTok is that it rewards people who are studying maths, who are studying science, who are studying chemistry, who are studying medicine, who are actually doing something productive. And you wonder why they're taking over the world. And what would be better than breeding an entire generation of idiots? What would be better than breeding an entire generation who think the Kardashians are the summit of all human greatness? And I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. You understand how civilizations crumble. If you put on a pedestal the it could be anybody. I'm just using them as an example. The Kardashians, the greatest summation of human knowledge and experience and achievement. Yeah, for having zero talent. Multi-billionaires, but zero talent. And you understand why a nation loses its way. That's how it works.
And when you see the word influencer, it's called that for a reason. Is because these idiots are influencing swathes of successive generations to behave in the same brainless, stupid manner. I don't understand how dumb people have got to be to realize what is, and this is not conspiracy.
No, it's not. It's not conspiracy. Just look at the world. This is the point.
Decade to decade, what's gone on? You might not like things from history. Okay, I recognize that there are an awful lot of behaviors and words that we used in years gone by that are unpalatable to many, not to everyone. And it's important to stress that there are some people who don't think like that, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether Russ likes it or not, whatever. There are people who, for whatever reason, think that times were better from decades ago. But you only have to look at the deterioration of the education system, the way people speak, the way people behave, the way people think that they are so unbelievably self-entitled. Dave Sleeve hit the nail on the head as ever, sir. Social grooming. What better way of putting it? That is it. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what it is. But the way people behave, the way people are so unbelievably self-entitled to everything, when actually their main achievements in life will equate to nothing.
Absolutely.
It's horrific.
And you can't, it's not sustainable. And the reason it's not sustainable is because it's built on nothing. It has no solid foundation. It's built on smoke and mirrors. And you can't build a nation and a life on that. You can make a lot of money. Please don't misunderstand. The Kardashians live in Calabasas near my friend Shirley Green. They're all gated communities. They're McMansions, as I heard a wonderful phrase over the weekend. McMansions. In other words, it's the size of Buckingham Palace. It's probably about 10 years old, and they all look the same, and they cost 50 million, 60 million plus. And they're multimillionaires. Of course they are, each of them. It's very, very clever marketing, but it's bullshit. It's just bullshit. Now, Ramsey says, let's just look at this for a second. I know Phil's going to have to be quiet on this. I understand why it's Phil, so please don't feel obliged. The press is not balanced. Most of the mainstream media is owned by billionaires like Murdoch or Berlusconi. I don't remember them owning the BBC. Remind me. How can they be considered left-wing? CNN. Look at CNN. Look at MS, whatever it's called, the MS CNN or whatever the hell it's called, NS, whatever it is. Look at them. Look at them. It's just a joke. It's a joke.
What about the billionaires who are behind the Guardian, Ramsey? Just asking.
And anyway, it's
look.
Absolutely.
I don't think the money's got anything to do with it. I really don't.
It's not the money.
If I may point out that I have never, and just in the interest of declaring this, okay, I work for an organization that is part of Rupert Murdoch's empire, okay?
Yeah.
So you are, of course, going to think that I would automatically defend my employers. I've never met Rupert Murdoch. He wouldn't know me to look at me any more than I'd actually really know him to look at him. Obviously grateful for the opportunity
to say that. He talks him and Rebecca talk of very little else.
I have met Rebecca, but still,
have you seen what Phil's wearing today? Isn't Phil great?
The point is that at no stage have I ever had editorial command come down to me and say, you can't do this because this is too left-leaning. You can't do this because it's too right-leaning. Never had that.
I've had it at the BBC.
I've had it at the BBC, though.
We've both had it at the BBC.
So,
and you see, that's not us being conspirators. That is us people who've worked for a variety of companies or broadcast on various companies. Phil is telling you he has never, ever been dictated to about what he can and what he can't say, ever. And the only time I've had that was at the BBC. So, it's not making it up. We're not conspiracy nuts. It's fact. It's what happened to us. And separately. Now, here's the thing. And I mentioned this before, Facebook use, and I'm sorry, it's because you're probably watching this on the espresso bar, I'm suspecting, and you have to do some little toggling. Phil will know because he's a genius. Canadian leader Justin Trudeau, calling Jewish parliamentarians Nazis, he didn't exactly. But what he said was he would, I'm going to paraphrase slightly because I want to get it as right as I can. What he said was he would not support endorse truckers, and he called the truckers swastika flag wavers, misogynists. What else charming thing did he say? Basically, he was saying all the truckers were Nazis. And he said this to a lady in the Canadian House of Parliament who happened by chance to be Jewish. And she said, would you mind? And she said, and I'm come from Holocaust survivors. Would you mind retracting that remark and apologizing? How can you say that every trucker is a Nazi? This is a terrible thing to say. They're not waving swastikas. But it's so easy to just say, they're swastikas and they hate women and they're misogynists. And where's the proof of that? I haven't seen one flag. All you see is the Canadian flags. So I take the point.
This is a good point, actually, from Andy.
Oh,
we shouldn't really assume that people do know this automatically. She says, I don't actually understand what left wing and right wing actually means. In an absolute nutshell, Andy, left wing is normally, if you think of it as sort of going back to having two political parties, think of it as having Whigs and Tories, or if you like, Labour and Tories. I mean, as you know, more like Liberal Democrats, to be fair. But those who are on the left are more liberal. Those who are conservative are more on the right. So in other words, those who are left-leaning would probably put humanity above economics. And those who are on the right would sort of, although maintain that they stand by humanity, they normally put economics first. That's an absolute nutshell and a very, very general summation.
Well, that's like painting it with a brush 3 miles wide, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a
very,
huge,
very general summation.
You see, I'm liberal with a small L. I wouldn't vote liberal because I don't think they know what they're doing. But I'm liberal with a small L because I just think everybody just get on and lead your lives, which will help your mental health. So I've really become a libertarian, and by that, and I used to think it was nonsense, but the more I thought about it and the older I've gotten, the more I see the world is going, is that you don't want all this control from central government because you end up with people like Justin Trudeau. What you want is your own local government, which is why that Jackie Weaver, that wonderful woman, I have the authority and all that stuff, and who I speak to most days, oddly enough, she's been a guest on the show with Phil and myself. Local government's so important. Local government understands local issues, local people, local businesses. It's really important stuff. People who live in a certain area, they need someone who understands what's going on in that area. It's important. That's why being a libertarian is that bring it all down to local level. And that's how you get a pothole sorted out, or that's how you get your social work sorted out, or that's how you get help for mental health issues sorted out. Not from on up top, but at grassroots level. That's what I really come to believe. I didn't think I would, but I have. What have we got here? Editorial standards. Go on, you read that.
Editorial standards of impartiality are there to ensure the BBC fulfills its mandates. Ramsey, I know that. You know that. What a dreadful shame some people who work there allegedly don't know that. But anyway.
The leaders are making such statements, imposing draconian measures, are showing their fear for their own loss of control and power. You're absolutely right, Dave. Dave C. Weak leaders promote fear and system control. Well, a scared, nervous population is much easier to control and much more malleable. But I think everyone's had enough. We've had enough. We're seeing through this. So that doesn't make you right-wing. That just means you're grown up and adult and can think for yourself. That's not a political statement.
On Wednesday, we'll be able to discuss the fact that with a bit of luck today, the government will announce the ending of all COVID rules and regulations. So that's something to hopefully look forward to. We'll see.
Okie dokie. Will you still wear a mask on the tube? Serious question.
Will I?
Because I will. Just for health and safety.
I don't have to. I won't. I want to get back to normal. I can't be doing with it. I never wore one before. I'm not going to do it again if I can help it.
Okay.
So there we go. Right. That's all we've got time for today.
Wow. What a show. Woo, wowza. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody just discussing stuff, not screaming at each other, just talking like grown-ups.
We like adult discussions here. I know it's a foreign concept, sadly, in this day and age, but with a bit of luck. See you Wednesday at midday. Bye-bye.